At 3 a.m. The city sings fluorescent, pallet jacks clack, freezers hum, and one exhausted guy, me, whistles into a carton of eggs. Nights I stocked a 24-hour grocery. Mornings I flipped pancakes at a diner. I showered in silence so I wouldn't wake anyone, left cash on the table, and wore a hoodie that smelled like syrup and bleach. My family called it helping out. I called it rent, light, heat, Mia's school shoes, and whatever my half-brother Nolan's latest business idea needed. Mom texted hearts at 5 a.m. Dad grunted and changed the channel. The rhythm was simple. I worked, they didn't ask how, and the lights stayed on. 2 weeks before everything cracked, I came home after a double to find red envelopes bulldozing the fruit bowl. Final notice in all caps, like the mail was yelling because Dad wouldn't. I paid what I could, slept at noon, and dreamed of alarms because my brain thought resting was a fire hazard. The more quietly I kept us afloat, the louder Dad got about real men and real jobs. By Sunday dinner, me in flour-dusted sneakers, he was 3 beers into a lecture about pride. You know, he said, stabbing the air with a fork like it owed him money. Some sons make their parents proud. They go to college, get careers. They don't come home at dawn smelling like whatever that is. Maple and survival, I said. Sarcasm is a love language in our house. Mia snorted into her milk. Mom gave me the look that meant not tonight. Nolan was too busy typing strategy in notes to notice fireworks over the casserole. Dad leaned back like he was delivering weather. You've never made us proud. Flat. Final. It didn't sting the way he wanted. Maybe I was too tired. Maybe night shifts build a callus where other people keep their approval meter. I stared at the ceiling and pictured a map out. Okay, I said. Not a challenge, not tears. Just a small okay that felt like slipping out of a sweater that never fit. Mom blinked. Nolan looked up like someone had unplugged him. Mia squeezed my hand under the table. I cleared my plate, washed it, dried it, put it back, and went to my room. The room I'd painted 2 different blues because the clearance rack said they matched. I took the diner duffel and packed what actually belonged to me, 2 work shirts, the hoodie, the photo strip of me and Mia making fish faces, and a notebook full of tips I never counted. Dan knocked once and opened before I could answer. Our favorite boundary game. Where do you think you're going? To make someone proud, I said, zipping the bag. He scoffed. You won't last a week without this house. Funny, I said, glancing at the crooked thermostat I'd installed. This house hasn't lasted a week without me in years. Mom met me at the door, eyes wet but mouth zipped. She pressed a leftover container into my hands. Text me when you get there, she whispered. I'll text Mia, I said. And I'll send you the recipe. Code for I'll survive. Outside, the air tasted like a new paragraph. I didn't have a plan, just a friend named Marco with a couch, a calendar full of night shifts, and a decision that felt like flipping the closed sign on a diner you don't own. On the bus across town, my phone buzzed with Nolan. Bro, you can't leave right now, Dad's being dramatic LOL. Also, can you spot me $80 till Friday? I slid it to Do Not Disturb for the first time since the utilities learned my name. Marco's couch springs argued with my spine while I counted hours until my next shift. Around hour 5, the silence settled in. It wasn't empty. It was peaceful, like a store after closing when the floors shine and the loudest sound is the soft hum of things you've finally turned off. I slept. Like a person. Like a son who'd decided his worth wasn't a group project anymore. Marco has 3 couch rules: don't eat his fancy yogurt, water the basil like it's a baby, and fold the good blanket back the way the blanket spirits prefer. I followed them like the apartment had lasers. Guilt makes you a very obedient roommate. The first morning away, I woke at 9, stunned by the absence of Dad's news channel. Sunlight existed. Coffee tasted like something other than survival. I hugged the mug with both hands like I'd just discovered fire. How's freedom? Marco asked, sliding me a donut. Loud, I said. Then came the itch. Check the banking app, make sure the internet draft hit, the gas cleared, the lights had life. Muscle memory of a ghost employee. I sat on the squeakiest chair on earth and started closing tabs, literal and moral. I stopped autopay on the utilities tied to my name. Changed my password like I was breaking up with an ex. Thank you for your service. Please lose my number. A tiny earthquake of anxiety ran through me. What if they miss a payment? My own brain rolled its eyes. They'd been missing more than payments for years. Proud of you, Marcos said, no fireworks. Just a friend remembering I'm a person. Origin story, short version. At 16, I knew the electric companies hold music better than any top 40. Senior year, while Nolan discovered he had business vibes, I discovered late fees and the day a fridge starts smelling like grief. I took the night shift because the pay was 50 cents more and because it felt honest. The world sleeps, I keep it humming. Dad called me a vampire. He wasn't wrong. At noon, Mia texted a photo of her sandwich. Tastes like betrayal because you took the good leftovers. I sent back a selfie with Marco's basil. Tell the basil I'm the favorite now. 50 emojis. Then, you okay? I typed, erased, typed again, settled on. Sleeping like people who own pajamas. She liked it. Translation, we're good. Silence from Dad felt huge, but not heavy. Mom sent 2, love you, texts, tiny and careful. Nolan tossed in, yo, can you Uber me to an interview? And followed it with a Cash App request titled Entrepreneurship. I stared at it until my phone dimmed. Instead, I opened Notes and made a budget. Nothing flashy, just boxes like rent, real, food, actual, savings, wild concept. For the first time, my name didn't appear under miscellaneous household miracles. Becca, my grocery manager, offered an extra freezer shift, pays $1 more. I said yes, then surprised myself by adding, I'd like to train for lead. My thumb hovered. Send. The message was left like a paper plane. It felt brave, or at least like I wanted my dignity to have a name tag. To celebrate, I cleaned Marco's kitchen. There's nothing like decrumbing someone else's toaster to prove control exists. Marco came home, sniffed lemon cleaner, and pressed a hand to his chest. You did the floors? Marry me. Fold your own blanket, I said, and we laughed like people not carrying buckets of old rain. At the diner that night, a regular named Doris slid me a church bulletin with a coupon for career counseling. Which is a very Doris sentence. You're smart, she said. Sometimes smart is just tired. I folded it next to my budget and didn't make a joke. It was the first time in a while I let someone picture more for me than breathing and paying. On the bus back, the city lights poked holes through the dark. I thought about pride, the real kind, not the scoreboard at my dad's table. Maybe it's quieter than applause. Maybe it's a full fridge, a basil plant that keeps living, a boundary you don't apologize for. My phone vibrated. Unknown caller. I watched it dance, felt the old panic tap my shoulder, and didn't answer. If it was urgent, they could text. If it was nothing, they'd try again. I opened the window, let the night breathe with me, and decided the only emergency I'd respond to tonight was my own. By day 3, I woke at 7 like someone had dialed my chest down from emergency generator to mostly human. Progress looks like sunlight you actually see. I took Doris's coupon to the community center and met a counselor named Maribel. She read my resume, tapped her pen. You left off the part where you kept a household from falling into the ocean. Then she translated my life into job verbs, negotiated payment plans, coordinated logistics, managed inventory, trained new hires. You're not unskilled, she said. You're undocumented, by yourself. I left with a resume that made me look suspiciously competent, and a list of postings that didn't pay in diner coffee. Becca texted a schedule with lead trainee? Scribbled like a dare. I said yes before the imposter in my head could ask for a manager. At Marco's, I watered the basil like it had hopes. Mia replied to the photo with laughing emojis and a shot of Dad asleep under a number 1 grandpa blanket even though no one has a kid. House is quiet, she added. Weird. Weird didn't last. That evening, Mom group texted. Anyone else's Wi-Fi being weird? Nolan. Same. Dad. Told them last week it was glitching. A minute later, Mom sent a screenshot. Your autopay has been cancelled. Update payment method. My stomach flipped. Then the reasonable part of my brain sat me down. You removed your card. That wasn't sabotage. That was surgery. I texted Mom privately. I took my card off the accounts with my name. You'll need to set up your own. 3 dots. Vanished. 3 dots. Okay. She wrote. We'll figure it out. Nolan tried a different channel. Bro, you're being dramatic. You know Dad doesn't do online stuff. Just this month, then I'll handle it next time FR. He added a cash request labeled Bridge Financing. I let it expire. Saying no is easier when the app does it for you. At the store, Becca walked me through lead duties. You already do half of this, she said. Difference is, now you'll get paid and you can change the playlist. I blacklisted the Whistle remix that breaks souls at 3 a.m. Small power, big joy. I slept in a bed. Not a couch, a bed in Marco's spare room because his cousin moved. He tossed me a key. Ground rule 4. He said. If you spiral at 2 a.m., wake me. Don't ride the sad music bus. By breakfast, Dad had posted. Kids these days. No loyalty. No respect. It had 3 likes. It didn't hurt, it curdled. I texted Mia another Basil photo captioned. Look who's respecting boundaries. Around lunch, an unknown number left a voicemail. The voice was calm and apologetic. Hi, this is Ms. Langley from Maple Ridge Properties. I'm trying to reach Daniel. Our records show he's the contact on the lease at 14 Brookview, and I wanted to follow up about this month's rent. We haven't received payment, and I'd like to avoid a late notice if possible. Please call me back. There it was, the first domino wobbling. Old me would have sprinted to fix it. New me poured coffee and sat with the feeling. I did not break anything. I stopped pretending I was the glue. Marco caught my face. You okay? Define okay. Not replacing yourself with a credit card is okay, he said. Let grown-ups be grown-ups. I nodded. Pride isn't loud. It's letting a voicemail be a voicemail. It's tasting coffee before you go save people who say you're nothing special. That night, I trained a new hire named Jaden who refaced every cereal box with military precision. He told me I seemed calm. I laughed. Buddy, I am duct tape in human form. But today the duct tape is on my own stuff. After my shift, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from unknown. 1 from Mom, and a text from me. Heads up. Dad told the landlord you always take care of it. She said he doesn't live here. It was awkward. I added awkward to the things my family had finally felt in my absence, set the phone face down, and slept without dreaming of hold music. 2 days after Ms. Langley's voicemail, I could tell the calendar from the way Mom texted. Do you know when rent is due? No hello? Not even punctuation at the end, like if she skipped the period the bill might skip us. The first, I wrote. Like every month for the last forever. She replied. Right. Then, your father says you changed the passwords. I took my card off the accounts in my name. I sent. Passwords are still whatever Nolan made when Hustle 2020 turned him into a CEO. Please don't be cruel. She wrote. Mom, speak for don't joke when I'm scared. I drafted 6 replies, deleted them, and finally sent. I'm not paying rent for a house I don't live in. My thumb shook, but the message stayed sent. At the store, Becca slapped a sticky note on my vest, lead trainee. Jaden whistled like I'd scored concert tickets. Does this mean you can ban the yogurt jingle? It means I can turn it down so fewer souls suffer, I said, and we celebrated with backroom donuts and the idea of a future not decided at Dad's table. On break, I called MS. Langley. Let's remove you as point of contact then, she said, efficient kindness. And for clarity, the autopay tied to your name is off, so they'll need their own. Exactly, I said. I'll send the notice and a list of resources, she added. I prefer solutions. So do I almost said. But mine don't set me on fire anymore. Mom called that night. The ring was urgent, like 2007 insisting phones fix feelings. I picked up. Hi, sweetie. Soft voice, then a sharpened one. Your father is not handling this well. I figured, I said. He says you're punishing us. A beat. Are you? The old script tried to load, the one where I explained the math of my exhaustion. I closed it. I'm taking care of me. Long exhale. Your sister needs the stable. We all do. Stability isn't silence, I said. I can help you budget. I cannot keep paying. I don't want your spreadsheets. She snapped, then softer. I want my family back at the same table. Me too, I said. But not the table where I'm the meal. By Friday, the landlord's notice arrived. Mia sent a photo of the envelope and then one of the fridge smothered in magnets to block the view. Art therapy, she wrote. I sent back a gold star. Dad didn't call. Nolan did. Bro, family means sometimes you carry more. Remember in 10th grade when I lent you my jacket? The mustard-stained jacket that made everyone call me Dijon? He chuckled. Good times. Anyway, this month is nothing. I've got an interview. For what? He cleared his throat. Content consultant. So not a job. Okay, hater. Just wire the rent and I'll Venmo you Friday. Nolan, I said. The only thing I'm wiring is a meat thermometer at the diner. You're gonna feel stupid when I blow up. He said. I will happily eat my Dijon hat. I said, and hung up before guilt could pull up a chair. Saturday, thunder and quiet. I deep-cleaned Marco's stove, then hit Maribel's job fair. She introduced me to a logistics supervisor who asked if I could handle chaos. Sir, I alphabetize chaos. Interview Wednesday. Pride scooted closer. On my way out, Ms. Langley called again. Quick update, she said. I spoke with your father. He mentioned you usually handle things. I used to, I said. I told him you don't anymore, she replied, gentle steel. There's a 5-day grace period, after that late notice. I'd like to avoid it. Me too, I said. I meant all of it, the fee, the drama, the version of me who can't let consequences breathe. That night at the diner, Doris clinked her mug with mine. To promotions, she said, and to boundaries that save your life. She tipped quarters and a peppermint. Very Doris. I set my phone face down, D&D on. The calendar would do what calendars do. My job, finally, was not to jump in front of it like a traffic cone in sneakers. Tomorrow was the first. 56 notifications is how a calendar slaps you. The first. Group chat in flames. Mia. Breaking, Dad discovered due dates are real. Plus a selfie holding the rent notice like a wanted poster. I named Marco's Basil. Kevin. Watered him, brewed coffee so strong it needed a permit, and answered. Unknown caller. Daniel, Dad said, voice set to lecture. You're going to fix this or what? Good morning to you, too. Your mother's upset. The landlord lady's being dramatic. By asking for rent? You love being clever. Be a man and pay it one last time. There it was, be a man, our family's credit card slogan. I've already paid one last time for about 3 years. I said, counting to 5 like Maribel taught me. I'll help set a budget and call Ms. Langley with you at noon. But I'm not transferring money. He snorted. We need cash, not your little spreadsheets. They're medium-sized. And they keep refrigerators alive. Family means stepping up. Family also means growing up. I said. I'll sit at the table to plan. I won't be the table. If we get evicted, that's on you. It's on the name on the lease. I said, hands shaking because true things feel illegal at first. Sell Nolan's sneaker museum. Or, wild idea, he gets a job. Your brother is networking. In pajamas? Click. Tradition, hang up on the truth. An hour later Ms. Langley called, efficient sunlight. Courtesy reminder we haven't received rent. There's still time to avoid a late fee if it's paid today. Thanks for being clear. I said, grateful clarity didn't require apologies. At the store, Becca handed me a lead trainee cheat sheet like a tiny knighting ceremony. Jaden celebrated by aligning soup cans until the aisle looked like a museum called Tomato. Pride isn't loud, it hums behind you while you face the beans. At lunch I called Mom. Don't start, she whispered. Your father isn't himself. He sounds exactly like himself, I said gently. I'll help you two sit with the numbers. After my shift, 8 o'clock. But I'm not wiring anything. Long pause. I could hear the hallway clock through the phone. We don't know how, she said. Your father always said he had it. He had me. Different thing. Could you, just this once, so we don't get the late fee? Mom is my kryptonite. I pressed the cool mug to my forehead. I could, I said, but I won't. I love you. See you at 8 with a notebook and a cheap calculator. By 4, Nolan texted. Where you at with that rent? Then a photo of a $22 sushi roll captioned, networking lunch. I stared at the 2 light bulbs he'd eaten. 5 o'clock, Mia live report, Dad pacing, Mom googling. Grace period meaning. Nolan claiming his bank app is down. Globally. She added, preheating the oven so the late fee can bake. At the diner, Doris slid me a sticky bun. You look like a man who told a boundary the truth. Trying, I said. 9 p.m. Another unknown call. I stepped into the alley where the grease trap hums like a sleepy dragon. Dad, panic key? If it's not in by midnight, there's a fee. Do you hear me? Midnight. I hear you. Then do something. I did, I said. I said no. He inhaled like a storm. You'll regret this. I hope I won't, I said. That would mean you learned it without me on fire. Don't get poetic. Too late. Click. Near midnight, a flurry from Mia. Paid. Mom found a way, called Aunt Lydia and sold 2 of Nolan's shoes. Not pairs. Just shoes. Then, Dad says he doesn't need you. A third. I do. I sent back a photo of Kevin thriving under the under-cabinet light. Me too. Then I clicked off on the neon open sign and listened as quiet settled, heavy then light. Day 1 is not the autopay ended. The sky didn't fall. It simply got dark and promised a morning. At 8 sharp I walked in like a visiting contractor, notebook, cheap calculator, and a promise not to install emotional plumbing for free. The house smelled like stress and cinnamon. Mom bakes when the world tilts. Dad paced. Nolan wore ambition sweats and a hoodie that said rise and grind. Mia slid me a clicky pen like we were signing a peace treaty. This is unnecessary, Dad declared. We've always found a way. Your way has been Daniel, Mia said. I Saturday. Rent first. Then utilities. Then food. Then everything that only pretends to be essential. I wrote numbers, not judgments. The room went quiet in that special way a room does when truth sits down and the furniture holds. Mom hovered, half proud, half braced. How did you keep all this straight? I stayed up, I said. A little notebook. A lot of hold music. Nolan lounged like a comma. Quick fix, we just need a loan while my brand ramps. What brand? Mia asked. It's stealth, he said. I'm incubating. Like eggs, I said. But with hashtags. You don't get it. I do, I said. I just don't sponsor it. Dad pointed at my notebook. If you'd step up like family. I stepped up for years, I said. Today I'm sitting down with a calculator. Ms. Langley called, speakerphone. Hi everyone. We received partial rent, thank you. Remaining balance is due Friday to avoid the fee. I've emailed budgeting resources. Handled, Dad said. Partially, she replied. The lease lists 2 adults. Both are responsible. A muscle jumped in Dad's jaw. Friday is real, she finished. I'd like to help you meet it. I covered the numbers with my palm. I'll structure, not subsidize, I told the room. Invite me to plan, not to put out fires. Mom sat, our biggest yes. Show me, she said. We built a budget like we were finally allowed to. 3 streaming services, cancelled. Phone plan, cheaper. Grocery list, vegetables that don't require a second mortgage. We circled thrift day. We wrote, Nolan, income? And left the line blank on purpose. Sell sneakers, I added. Dad nearly short-circuited. Mom did a tiny, glorious rebellion. You don't even wear half of them, she said. Your feet aren't an investment portfolio. Mia bumped my shoulder and whispered, proud of you. Funny how different that sentence sounds when it's not currency. It landed soft and warm. After 2 hours, we had something that could work, if everyone did too. Dad eyed the plan like it had dented his truck. I'm not living like a pauper. You're living like a person with bills, I said. Weird at first. Then less weird. I'm the father, he tried. And I'm your son, I said. Not your safety net. I stood. I love you. I'm not moving back, and I'm not paying your rent. If I'm at this table, it's to plan. Mom hugged me, cinnamon and apology in her voice. Nolan took a final swing. If you bought me a camera, I could start a channel and... Good night, Casey Neistat, I said. Mia almost choked laughing. Outside felt like new pencils and lined paper. I texted Marco. Didn't set myself on fire. He replied with a basil emoji. On the bus, an email from Maribel. Logistics supervisor, second round Friday. Bring examples of systems you've built. I looked at my notebook. Systems. I'd been running them for years. I just hadn't named them. Back at Marco's, the basil, Kevin, drooped dramatically. I watered him and said out loud to a plant, we did good. Then I slept like someone who finally lets the calendar be a calendar, not a monster. Morning, a text from Becca. If Friday goes well, I'll push your raise here too. People notice when shelves stop collapsing. Pride didn't sound like Dad's toast. It sounded like a manager who sees the glue and calls it skill. Friday's coming, I thought. Not a threat. A step. Friday started at 2% battery and 3 alarms because interviews and panic share a calendar square. Marco made eggs and a pep talk. Kevin the basil drooped. Even the herbs are nervous, I said. Then we're all invested, he said, straightening my collar. On the bus, Mia texted play-by-play, Dad confident, money will appear. Mom whispered googling autopay, Nolan posting his shoes captioned. Assets. I sent my notebook. This is my asset. The logistics office looked like someone alphabetized a thunderstorm. Screens, radios, floor taped with secret meanings. Ms. Patel, Ops, and Greg, HR, Ty with tiny forklifts, sat me down. Walk us through a moving problem, Ms. Patel said. Power outage during a truck unload, I said. Shifted perishables to the diner's walk-in, inventoried by flashlight, saved 90% of the order. People? Greg asked. I train new hires at 3 a.m. when the patient's ferry sleeps. I write checklists like love letters. We whiteboard the route. My phone buzzed, D&D held. At the end, Ms. Patel said, your resume undersold you. Greg added, background check, then night operations coordinator with a path to days. Shift diff applies. Night again. It didn't sting. I know the dark, I said. Outside, my phone was a car alarm, missed calls from unknown mom, Ms. Langley. Mia. Landlord came. Dad said you'd handle it. She said he doesn't live here. He said things. I called Ms. Langley first. Remaining rent is overdue, she said, steady as a ruler. I told your father I can set a plan with the leaseholders. He said you'd pay. I said that's not my information. Thank you, I said. I won't be paying. I'm happy to explain the budget we built. It's solid, she said. I'll walk them through options. Dad rang. I answered in the shade so the sun wouldn't judge my tone. Finally, he said. Where's the money? No one else paid. There it was, the thesis of our house. Then it's time someone else does, I said. I can help you pay. I won't pay for you. We'll get a late fee. That's what happens when adults miss deadlines, I said. I'll meet you at the bank. I'm not wiring a cent. You think you're better than us because you have a clipboard now? No. I think I'm better to myself. Silence. The hallway clock clicked through the phone. Your mother is crying. I know, I said, throat tight. That's why I built a plan. Please use it. Just this once. I did just this once for 3 years, I said. This is the first, not this time. He hung up the way you slap a door. At the store, Becca intercepted me. Logistics called for a reference, she said. I told them you run this place at night with duct tape and kindness. Sometimes labels, I said. By late afternoon, Mia report, Dad grumbling, at a Rio bank. Mom photographed the confirmation like a tourist. Nolan listed sneakers and discovered a loss called consequences. Ms. Langley confirmed receipt at 4:52 p.m. We appreciate timely resolution. Which is landlord for? You cut it close. Dinner rush. Doris slid a note on a napkin. Proud of you. D. I didn't cry. The soup was just emotionally manipulative. On my way home, Ms. Patel called. Background check cleared. Can you start Monday? Yes, I said. The word felt like a porch light turning on. Back at Marco's, Kevin looked less dramatic. I watered him anyway and texted Mia. They paid it, I didn't. She sent fireworks and a photo of Nolan beside a boxed pair of shoes like a man at a shoe funeral. I put my new schedule on the fridge with a tomato magnet and stared at it the way you stare at a map when it finally has a route. Then I turned my phone face down and let Friday be Friday, not a battlefield. The panic call came, but so did the part where I didn't answer with my bank account. That's a new kind of proud, the kind you can put your name on without needing anyone to clap. Monday I clipped on a badge with my name spelled right. Ms. Patel nodded. Welcome aboard. On break, a photo buzzed, Mom with a stamped receipt. Paid. On time. Mia added Nolan selling sneakers. His face looked like homework. 5 minutes later, Dad. We handled it. I stared until the words felt small. Good, I wrote. Keep handling it. I set my phone down, faced a wall of routes, and felt a quiet click inside, a house settling. Pride wasn't a toast. It was this: the rent I pay has my address, the panic isn't mine, and when the calendar screams, it doesn't have my number anymore.